Well, good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's chat with an expert. We're going to talk about how to increase your adoption of Merlin. And so we've got a couple of things we're going to talk about. Thanks for joining us today. As usual, we're going to cover our webinar guidelines. We're going to make this less than 30 minutes. I am recording the session. It will be a short presentation. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat window. I will take a time periodically to go look at those and see what's there. And the questions do not need to be related to today's topic. Okay. In fact, I know we've already had someone ask that I show something, and so we'll do that during today's session. So these are the things that I'd like to talk about today, and we're going to go through each one of these in a little bit of detail. These are the things that are important to increasing your adoption of Merlin. You want to plan your rollout and set your goals for your digital asset management solution. Having a common vocabulary so that people are searching using the same language that you might be using to add metadata is a really important thing. There are lots of videos available to you to help with your internal training. We can help you with your training. You can also localize your manuals, our manuals, and localize them for job-specific tasks related to how you're doing business. You can also simplify the UI. We're going to talk about that so that the user experience is streamlined so that your users are only seeing the features and tools that they need to see. And then we'll talk briefly about how the featured content tool might help you guide your users into seeing what they want to see. So let's talk about each one of these things in a little detail. So first of all, we want to talk about planning your rollout. So you need to define who your users are. And once you've done that, you want to define what they need to see. Do they need to see everything in your system, or should they be limited to what they see? That's something that we can help you set up. And I wrote that twice. What do they need to see? That's interesting. I guess I thought that was really, really important. So what do they need to see in terms of assets, and what do they need to do in terms of tools? So if someone does not need the cropping tool, why give it to them? If a user does not need to upload content, don't give them the upload privilege. If someone doesn't need to use other tools, you can hide those tools so you're not cluttering that view. And when we're done in a moment, I'm going to show you how you can set that up so that your users can have a streamlined set of tools. And we've got a new feature that's coming out that will assist with that. So that's a little bit about planning your rollout. Having a common vocabulary or a controlled vocabulary so that you have a pull-down list of terms for your users to use is a really useful thing, because you may say potato and I may say potato, but by having defined lists for your users to choose from, you're kind of guiding them in their searching. And this is a really, really important thing to help your users discover content. So it helps that you're using the same language. Other tools that you can use to assist with that are the thesaurus. So for example, a story I tell all the time is when I went to school, there was a building on campus that was called the Robert Lee Moore Hall, but it was also called the RLM because everybody likes to abbreviate things. But it was also the Physics, Math, and Astronomy, and therefore the PMA. So this is one building with at least 4 different names. And so in a thesaurus, you can set things up so that your users, if they search for one term, they will still find the building or the site or the picture, whatever you're looking for, regardless of how it was tagged, because you've built in some terms in your thesaurus. So it's important to help your users speak the same language that you're speaking, or the language of your photographers when they're uploading content. So that's a useful thing. Okay, something that can help you with adoption. There are lots of videos that we've done, and just like we're recording this session as well, on our YouTube page. Here's the link to our YouTube page, and we'll take a look at it in a second. We've got over 20 videos on this page, and we even include all of our monthly chats on that page as well. So this is a great place to go help your users get some guidance in how to do certain things in Merlin. Let's talk a little bit about training. As most of you are aware, we'll do as much web-based training as you would like, as you need, and we'll do it as often as you like. So if you would like to do web-based training in 6 months from now because you've had some staff turnover, or you think it's time to maybe learn a few more things about Merlin because you'd like to take your Merlin to the next level, just let us know. We'll be happy to set that up for you and do some web-based training for you anytime. Just let us know. So this might be another way to help with your adoption or the re-adoption of your system as you're trying to roll it out to a wider audience within your organization. A localized manual is a useful thing to have, and a lot of our customers have taken the manual that we've done and they've broken out bits and pieces of it to create their own manual that's specific for the jobs that they're doing at their particular organization. So while Merlin may have all of these features from soup to nuts, it might be that your users only need the nutty part of the manual and don't care about the soup. So you could cut out the manual and you could actually localize it for the job at hand. The Merlin X manual is now accessible directly from the client. I'll show you that. There's also a quick start guide that's available to you. You can see the link to it. It's 5 or 6 pages. It's a great thing to be able to share with new users especially. And there's also an intro video to Merlin, and there's the link to that as well. So you can go to that video at any time. And again, that's really useful for new users. If someone says, well, what is this DAM thing we've got? And you can point them to that video. And it does a quick little overview of what DAM is and how they can use it. Specifically how they can use Merlin. So the other thing that you can do is simplify the user interface, and this can actually be done by user group, or the individual user can now simplify their own user interface. And I'm going to walk through this and show you all of these things because this is pretty cool. So less is often more. So you can actually trim down what your Merlin looks like for certain users, for certain classes of users. And so now that I've kind of introduced the concepts, what I'd like to do is go through each of these things. So I'm going to quit my PowerPoint and we'll go straight away to my web browser. So I'm already logged into Merlin, okay? But take a look at this. This is a streamlined view. I have only the sidebar on the left available. I only have 3 palettes inside of my sidebar. And look at my tools at the top. I'm currently limited to my editing tool, my upload tool, and my download tool. So because of the way I've logged in, I've got this nice streamlined view. I can still search and I can still decide what type of searching I want to do. I can still upload content since I have permission to do that. And I have permission to download content. But I don't have permission to access lots of the other tools that are available to you in Merlin. So you can see that this is a pretty nice streamlined tool. Now, one of the things that we've built into this is the ability, and this is a new feature that's coming soon, some of you might have it, is I can change back to my default layout. So if I'm ready to go use my power tools, I can go change to my default layout, which again may still be somewhat limited. And so I can actually move my saved searches over here to the right if I'd like to do that. And notice I have a few more tools that are available to me at this time. And so again, I have this choice of using a basic layout or a default layout. And so that's a nice thing to be able to switch to and have access to do those 2 things. Now I'm going to go ahead and log out and log back in because I want to show you a couple of other things as well while I'm doing this. So let me do this real quickly. So I'm doing this not necessarily in the order in which I presented to you in the PowerPoint, but that's okay. So the other thing I wanted to show you is the featured content page. And so that's this star icon. So the way I was previously logged in, I did not have access to the star icon. And you can set it up so that this featured content is created. And once created, you can even set it up so that when your users log in, they are presented with the featured content page right away. So this is a great way to convey information to your users when they log in. So you can convey information right here. Welcome to our featured content page, and I want you to pay attention to these things. And I've got these featured collections. So if I'm interested in seeing the barns, or I'm interested in seeing branding, or I'm interested in seeing my Olympic hot picks, one simple mouse click and it takes me straight away to those items, okay? And I can go back to the featured content page at any time I want simply by clicking on the star icon. So this is a great way to present to your users the content that you want them to see, along with some basic information you want them to be aware of. So they can log in, and this can be the default view that they see when they log in. The other thing that you can do that's helpful to them, and we already mentioned this a little bit, is metadata, creating controlled vocabularies for people. So let's use our upload form to talk about that for a little bit. So we did a session recently about controlled vocabularies and how to set them up, and so we won't go into lots of details here, but let's, for example, go to my country field, okay? And so if I wanted to type in the United States of America, for example, there are probably lots of different ways that you can do that. And before we did some data cleanup on this system, it was in here at least 6 different ways. It was USA, it was U period, S period, A period, it was United States of America, it was United States, it was US of A. It was even in here as America. So if you want to control the vocabulary a little bit, you can create a pick list. And so if you start to type, these are all of the values that start with the letter U. Okay, and so it won't let me type in anything unless it's on this list. And as I continue to type, it auto completes, and I can either use my mouse or the down arrow button, which is what I'm doing right now, and then the return key to select United States of America. So that's an example of a controlled vocabulary, and you don't have to worry about people mistyping United States of America. And so now when people go to search, if they're going to search the country field, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. If they're going to search the country field, again, they have a pick list, okay, United States of America, and so they're guaranteed of searching for content the same way that metadata was added at the time of upload. So this is a really important thing, and I think it will help a lot with helping grow adoption of your system and reducing frustration, because people don't know how the photographer entered metadata or how metadata was added subsequently as people did that as part of the process. So I think this is a really helpful thing, and there are lots of different ways to do controlled vocabularies. Let's go back. So you can have pick lists, so you can choose values from lists. Here's my rights usage terms. And so again, this guarantees that if this form needs to be filled out, it's going to be filled out with your terminology and not my terminology. And I think that's a really helpful thing to help with the adoption of Merlin. Okay, so we've talked about common vocabulary. We've talked a little bit about simplifying the UI. We've talked about featured content. Let me just go here real quickly. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. This is our our YouTube page. We have a Facebook page as well. But if you go onto YouTube and type in MerlinOne, it's going to take you straight away to all of our content. And you can see we've got chat with our experts, and we've got an introduction to DAM, and we talk about what these are. I'm not even going to play this. So we've got all of these different videos that are available on here that are resources for your users. Here's a video about video. Here's how to set up Merlin X the first time. Here's how to use Merlin X in social media, rights management, and color codes. So there's lots of interesting videos in here. And if you get really bored, you can look at my video of my FJ Cruiser at Hunts Mesa. So anyway, lots of different videos on here that you can access, and we're adding more all the time. So that's another resource for you. Something else I wanted to show you, we talked a little bit about manuals. So let me show you this. Built into the client now in the new version that is being deployed is download the manual. And what's nice about this is when you select this, it's going to take you to the manual that's specific to your version of Merlin. So this is for the 5.4 version of Merlin. And when we start rolling out 5.5, if you're running 5.5, it will take you to the 5.5 manual rather than the 5.4. So that's a great feature as well. Our little video, let's see here. I don't have it immediately accessible, but it's in our, the URL is in the presentation, so you can go back and get that at any time you want. So I've gone on for 15 minutes. I know I want to answer your questions. Give me half a second. Let me see what we've got in the chat window. No questions yet. I know someone has asked for something specific, and I'm going to show that to you. It has nothing to do with what we've been talking about, but it's about sharing content with other user groups and how you might manage that. So I'm going to show that. But I wanted to see if there was any questions about what we've talked about today in terms of helping you roll out your Merlin into your constituency, or maybe you have some thoughts about how it should be done. Okay, so Denny, I see you're out there. This is for you. So if you wanted to know how to share collections with other user groups, and so what you do is the collection has to be shared first of all. So it needs to show up under shared, not under private. And to share a collection with different groups, you would highlight the collections. For example, I've got this one called Athletic Logos. And down here in my collection tools, this little gear tool here, I click this and I can say view the groups, and then you'd be able to change the groups that are able to see this collection. So I just removed that one particular group, and now I can go back in and add a different group. And so all of your user groups show up here, and I can say, yes, I'd like to add these user groups to view this collection. They're not allowed to edit it. They can simply view it. And I'm going to save those settings. And I'm going to do the same thing down here, group membership for adding a collection. So if I want these groups to be able to edit the collection, I can add that and save those settings. So it's real easy to control this. And so if I'm a member of any of these groups, I can edit the collection. If I'm a member of any of these groups, I can view the collection, but not edit the collection. So it's real simple to do that. Okay. Does that answer your question? And do you have any other questions related to this or any other topic? Okay, so next month we're going to talk about our integration with Adobe. We have a brand new piece of software that we're in the process of rolling out. We had Adobe integration some time back, and Adobe broke it for us. So we're reintroducing that software. We're approaching it from a whole new direction. You will be able to search Merlin from directly inside of your Adobe applications and open up content. How do you edit your thesaurus? That's a great question. Let me circle back to that in just a second. So you will be able to edit Adobe content, Adobe Merlin content in your Adobe products, including checking it in, checking it out, and placing it on the page in InDesign. So lots of really cool things that I have to show you next month. We're also going to change next month. Instead of using GoToMeeting, we're going to go to GoToWebinar. I know we used that briefly last year, and we're going to switch back to that for next month. So you will need to register to join the webinar, but that's all. You'll automatically get registered just by signing up. Okay, someone's asked about how to edit the thesaurus, so let me show you that. So in Merlin, you go to the admin tools and select thesaurus. And these are all the thesaurus entries that I currently have in my system. Okay, and so let's take a look at the value for accident. I have accident as the parent word and crash and wreck as the child words. So if I wanted to add a new parent word or add to accident as a parent word, you type in the parent word at the bottom, and in the child word, you type in whatever you want the child word to be, click save, and notice I get a growl in the right-hand corner that says the new thesaurus entry was created. And if we go look at accident, I now have crash, something bad, and wreck. And so searching for any of these terms will find the other terms. And so that's how you edit the thesaurus. One of our customers is asked about, if I search in English, can I find something in French? And the answer is yes, if you build those terms with the thesaurus. And so having a controlled vocabulary to do that type of thing is really quite useful. Okay, any other questions for me? Great. It's great that we can keep these things short and sweet. I'm giving you back 10 minutes to your busy days. I know you've got those. The video will get posted online later today. Let me know if you have questions about this or any other thing, or if you have topics that you'd like us to cover in our, okay, I'll get to that in a second, Melissa. Right now, so anyway, train of thought left the station. Let me know if you have topics you'd like us to cover. We'll be happy to do that. So Melissa's asking that the parent words must not contain spaces. Yes, that is correct for now. That is something I hope we will address soon. But currently, right now, for example, I could not make something bad as my parent word. I can only do it for the child word. The parent word has to be a single word with no spaces. Okay, but you can back into it by making the parent word something simple, and then the children can have the spaces. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I look forward to seeing you all next month. And again, let me know if you have questions or anything that we can help you with. Have a good Wednesday.